When you're sworn in office, you don't take an oath to a political party. You don't take an oath to anything but the Constitution of the United States. I watched my father start a little construction business and work hard to keep food on the table. And my parents had a big influence, certainly, on my politics and my worldview and my faith. I think some people go into public service thinking they will be powerful, that people will serve them. That's not what the Founding Fathers ever intended. This is the people's government, and we are here to serve the people. We are here to serve, not to be served. And these are just values I learned as a child from my father, who served in the United States Marine Corps. So the values we're teaching to our children and grandchildren. And we need more leaders, I think, that come from backgrounds outside of government. I graduated in chemical engineering, which is not the normal degree to get if you're going to go into public service. Usually it's lawyers and law. But I worked for 28 years in the private sector. Half of that time for a company called Procter & Gamble. Lived overseas for a while, advancing American products. And then I got in the cloud computing space and software business.
Can you define service? What does it mean to you?
This is about others. It's not about yourself. And that's one of the problems we have in Washington. We've got that inverted. This is what we fought the Revolutionary War over, was to reject the king, who believed the subjects should serve the king. I think about Supreme Court. These are nominations and votes for justices that will serve for a lifetime. They'll most likely be on the bench longer than most of us will be in office. These are decisions that will affect literally our children, maybe even our grandchildren. I enjoyed that great moment that Ronald Reagan had, that we got to have with President Trump, and that's cutting taxes, reducing the tax burden on the American people. The Trump tax cuts of 17, I was very active on that piece of legislation, fighting on behalf of our Main Street businesses to help them. In my opinion, those dollars are better spent in a person who's working or a person who's growing a business rather than the government's pocket. One of the subcommittees of the Energy Committee is actually the National Parks Subcommittee, which is probably the most bipartisan and least partisan committee there is. My colleague on the Democrat side is Angus King, the senator from Maine. If you are in the majority, you're called the chairman. If you're in the minority, you're called the ranking member. We decided we are co-chairs no matter where the gavel falls, Republican or Democrat. So when we're at a hearing, because currently the Democrats have control of the Senate, he calls me Co-Chair Daines, and I'll call him Co-Chair King. And we'll stay true to that. I think we're going to win the majority this fall. If we do win the majority as Republicans this fall, it'll still be Co-Chair Daines and Co-Chair King. There's a lot of egos in Washington. All of us have an ego, whether you're in Washington or not. But it's important to try to check that at the door and stay focused on mission and not your own personal gain, your own ego. And that's what when you engage in some of these important legislative battles and so forth, I just come back to saying, am I staying true to what I told the people of Montana, what my values are, my principles? I think it's very important that we have principled leaders who will continue to stand for what they ran on. And one thing I told the people of Montana, I ran on 4 simple words: more jobs, less government. And ultimately, when you're sworn in office, you don't take an oath to a political party. You don't take an oath to anything but the Constitution of the United States.